Meet Jake Thomas, a man who has transformed his life from the depths of depression into becoming a Marine, a 6-time natural physique champion, and a leading voice on social media. In this episode, Jake shares his incredible journey from a troubled childhood and drug addictions to serving as a US Marine and building a successful career as an entrepreneur.
Work is important, yes, but passion, emotion, conviction are more important. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, you have to be fucking afraid because you won't take the risks that are necessary if you're not. And you don't think about it at the time, but like it's instilling personal discipline into you, understanding constraints and parameters, understanding what self-reliance means and trying to craft and like chisel these leadership qualities out of a person. And in 13 weeks, they're going to be a fucking United States Marine.
He reveals the secrets to living a powerful and purposeful life, emphasizing the importance of physical health and sharing his extreme takes on diets.
The single most effective thing we can do as human beings in regard to our health is controlling what we put into our mouths. Period. End of story. Full stop. There are a lot of people that do not like me. They do not like the positions that I take in the form and as far as nutrition, its importance. They don't want to believe it, Jared.
Would you go as far as forgive what he's done?
It's a good question.
Join us for an inspiring and dynamic conversation filled with insights, laughter, and wisdom as we delve into what it truly means to become the best version of ourselves. Please welcome Jake Thomas. What's your background, and can you share more about your journey from addiction to transformation?
Oof, my background,
Yes.
boy. Okay, I grew up in New Orleans. Yeah, I grew up in New Orleans. That's where I was raised. Played sports all my life. Child of divorced parents. Went to the military at a very young age. To the Marines, I was 18. And funnily enough, I went there because life for me at home wasn't perfect. It looked perfect from the outside, you know, upper white, middle class, suburban America, typical like quintessential kind of homestead and everything, and what looked like the right family from the outside. But little did people know that the woman was not my mother. She was my father's wife, and my mother had been kind of jettisoned a long time before that through a nasty divorce, and I've been separated as a child and having to see parents in different places and a lot of separation anxiety and traveling alone in the days of being an unaccompanied minor, going to and fro interstate flights at like, 9, 10 years old. Traveling alone is a really weird thing. But grew up doing that for a long time. So going to the military was actually a place for me to find like solace of all things. But also needed it, was not doing much in life, was smoking a lot of weed, drinking, from a very early age, and just not really going anywhere, which seemed to be profitable. I didn't, even at the time I was able to say, what I'm doing is probably not going to yield a great result. That looks cool. Guns and blowing stuff up and getting dirty. That looks cool. Let's go do that, So went there, learned a lot about leadership, personal discipline, self-respect, self-reliance, all the leadership traits. And that was something that I did not know how badly I needed. But when I found all that, I was like, wow, this is important. This is impactful. And it made a big difference in my life, and, something I'll never forget and I'll always hold with me and keep, working on throughout. But going into that world also gave me an identity, a new identity as a Marine. I was no longer just Jake, now I was this Marine, and then you have the history and the camaraderie and the ethos that you buy into, and the kinship and the brotherhood and all the things that come with being one of these people, and the pride, the sense of purpose and direction and specificity of every day, a schedule, and, understand what your orders are, what your mission is. Even when you're not having a mission per se, like everything's accounted for. The world outside is almost, irrelevant to you, because your world is here in this place where, whether you're stateside or you're on a deployment, but what your missions are, what your priorities are, what you need to get done. And when I got out, all that went away, and I was back to freedom. And, it's the paradox of when you're there, all you want is freedom. And then when you get freedom, you're like, fuck, I don't know what to do with it now. Like, I want to go back to where I was being told what to do and how to do it and the time frame to do it in and the tools I needed to use. Like, you were so dialed in as far as an adherence to a plan. It was just like following, you just had to follow the plan. And again, when you're there, you hate it and you just want to be free and not have to deal with this. And I just want to do things on my own and grow my hair out. Blah. But then when you get there and you realize, God, it was fucking easy in many ways, because you're just following steps, breadcrumb trails.
Yeah.
And losing that identity, or being separated from that identity, became really my first obstacle, to be honest, Jared, about like life. I didn't think returning to normal civilian life would be such an obstacle. I thought it was going to be like, oh my God, I'm back. It's a parade, like
just
fucking
bam.
celebrate. No, I missed it. I missed that identity. I had earned something. I'd found something. I'd been given something, and I cherished it. I didn't cherish it enough there. But when I got out, I realized how much I took it for granted, maybe. And now I felt lost again. And I felt, kind of back to where I'd started before I went into the service. Not all, not in all places, but in some, just in this, felt like a little boy. I felt like I didn't belong in places. And I was like, damn, I miss my family. I miss my boys, my people, the guys that I'd really grown strong and formed strong bonds with. And now the world seems weird. I talk differently than most people. I've learned this whole new lifestyle and vernacular and how to move, and just my patience, my tolerance, like everything was different. I was real fast.
You just feel like an outcast.
Yeah, in many ways. And that got me down a road of heavy drinking, heavy drug use, to finally, or to kind of medicate, to feel like not to want to feel the sobering reality of reality. My reality was really sobering. Like, it was like, I was so contrasted to where I was. I felt, like you said, out of place, where I felt so in place. Because for those 4 years, it's like every single day, you know exactly what you're doing. You're putting that uniform on, whether it's casual or it's in training or it's overseas or whatever. You just, you're wrapped in this like cloak of identity. And then taking it off, it's like, how do you just turn all that off? From how much I spoke and, saying fuck like crazy, and having just to change how I talked to people and understood people, and understanding patience, and hey, like not everything is about life or death, and that people can be fallible and make mistakes, and it's okay. And, when your girlfriend says, I'll be there, and she's not, you don't have to flip the fuck out about it. Or when friends say they're going to meet you at this time and they're 2 minutes late, it's not the end of the world. I mean, don't get me wrong. Punctuality is a big priority in life, and I think it's a huge testament of a person's character. But you don't have to kill people over it, or like think that you're going to be killed because of their mistakes. So there's just these little bits of transition that were tough for me. I went into, like I said, a pretty heavy amount of drinking and drug use to cope with that. But it wasn't for naught, because if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have been able to have had the perspective to create this system that I ended up creating inadvertently, that I now use to teach and help other people deal with their own, traumas, anxiety, depression, PTSD, fear, and loathing of anything. Separation anxiety is a big one. Relationship counseling, human performance overall, just being able to understand that, wherever you are is where you need to be, or is where you should be, and that there is a way, but it might not be the way you want, but, there's always going to be a way through. And had I not kind of gone through those phases and learned and fallen and failed and failed and fallen and failed a lot over and over and over, I wouldn't have been able to say, hey, for sure, these 999 or 9,999 ways did not work, Thomas Edison. But that number 10,000, when you finally make the light bulb and you go, hey, how about that? I figured it out. But is really those 9,999 other ways that teach you all that. So it's like, this constant evolution of learning and failure and experimentation, curiosity, and determination, faith, and belief to kind of say where I'm at right now.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So you had a messy childhood, and you saw the army as a way to have meaning, structure, and identity back in your life. And then when you lost that, you just went sort of back to ground zero, as you said, obviously still with some knowledge that you kept. What were some of the pivotal moments where, for example, when you realized I should go to the army, or after the army when you sort of went back to ground zero, where you sort of realized, well, I've got to get my shit back together and get where you are today? So what were those pivotal moments?
I can remember the day I went to actually enlist. It was January 2003, all the build up on the news was pretty significant with us going back to the Middle East and this and that. And I was just sitting in a class, an undergraduate Spanish class, and staring off into space. And, I'd already been thinking for quite some time, like, what am I doing here? This is boring. I don't know what's going on. Like I said, it's not that I was physically abused. I was not. I wasn't beaten. I wasn't, put through things that many children and people have to deal with on a daily basis, far worse than I ever did, no doubt. But the emotional conspiracy that I was and my brother and I were subjected to is different. Having to live a life that is a lie, but it is portrayed as perfect to everyone that you know, to everyone that your guardians know, and to those people, they assume everything is hunky-dory. And I was an actor my whole life, pretty much. My brother and I both, playing these fraudulent roles of everything being copacetic, but all the while we're in the midst of this, terrible, toxic environment of infidelity and lacks of accountability and personal responsibility from the parental figures. And every, chance we're just smiling. Yeah, everything's fine. And these are our parents and it's all good. But, after like 10, 20, 30 years of that shit, it gets pretty tiring, But at that time, it was, almost 20 years. I was 18. But I just knew that this wasn't the place for me. Like I'd like outgrown the tank, like a fish would, so to speak, and that it wasn't doing it for me. And so, I was sitting in class one day, staring off into space, and I'd been watching the news and the buildup. I was like, you know what, fuck this. And I just got up and walked out and went into the recruiting office and, signed the paper right in on that day and did everything. And the recruiter's even like, whoa, like, slow down, buddy. Like, we'll talk this over. I was like, just give me the fucking pen, dude, before I lose the buzz, And as soon as I got there, there's part of me that was like, oh, fuck, what did I do? Like, what did I do? You have this buildup of anticipation, like on the way there, you're flying there, you're going through these checkpoints. And then when you meet the people that pick you up, like your first, real taste and glimpse of who your superiors are going to be for these next few months, it's like, oh, this is kind of serious now. Like, oh shit, like at the airport, But then when you get there to the actual place in the middle of the night, and it's like 3:00 in the fucking morning, and you're running out of the bus and you're getting screamed at and everything, it's just like, oh God, what have I done, man? It's like, what did I do? I was getting, fucked up with my friends just the other day and, hooking up with girls and just being a free person. I couldn't just figure this shit out on my own. Like, But then there was a bigger part of me that was like, dude, this is right where I belong. This is where I belong, man. Like, this is where I want to be. Everything was about competition, and I'm a competitor. Everything was about speed, volume, and intensity, and just listening and doing what you were told. I was like, this is fucking easy. I mean that, don't get me wrong, it was challenging, and there was hard and difficult times, but for the most part, especially in military training, when you're going through basic training, just do what you're fucking told. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to get messed with. Things are going to happen, but unforced errors are the things they don't stand for. And they tell you day one, right off the rip. So all you got to do is what you're fucking told. And like, I followed that just perfectly. Like, I was so militant about like, okay, just do what they tell me. Like, they say, don't move. They say, run. They say it louder. Like, every little thing has a reason, because it's about detail and following orders and discipline. And you don't think about it at the time, but like, it's instilling personal discipline into you, understanding constraints and parameters, understanding what self-reliance means, and trying to craft and like chisel these leadership qualities out of a person that shows up, long-haired, out of shape, bushy-tailed and everything. And in 13 weeks, they're going to be a fucking United States Marine. Doesn't matter where she is, where he came from, what they look like. 13 weeks from today, barring they don't die or something. Doesn't matter how nasty, how out of shape, how crazy, colorfully haired, tattooed, or whatever. In 13 weeks, you're going to be a Marine. So it's a pretty good system they got there. So I fell into it. I fell in love with it, and it worked for me. I bought in completely. And I was that way for the first 2 years of my enlistment, and then I had gotten some trouble, unfortunately, and got my heart broken by the service because the trouble that I got into, it was not necessary for me to be punished the way that I was. I had an incident on a base that I was stationed at where I got into an altercation. I was arrested by base police for something, and the base police turned me over to my command with no charges. So I was like, oh, fucking awesome. Like, I'm just going to get fucked up, or they're going to haze me, or I'm going to get punished. Like, whatever. Like, we're going to do this the Marine Corps way, you know? And that's not how it went. I got maxed, fined. I got maxed, demoted, lost all kind of privileges, but I mean, mainly it was losing of the rank and the, you know, the marks on my, not progress reports. I can't remember this, but basically my service record showing that I was, you know, subjected to this, court martial, which is the highest level of, reprimand and punishment you can receive. And I was like fucking 21 years old, man. You know, like I was the senior person during this incident. Should I have done, or should we have done what we did? No. You know, it was essentially an unlawful entry onto the installation. We were climbing over a fence to get onto the base. Nothing with violence, nothing with, I don't know, crazy. Yeah, like just a couple of, drunk, you know, kids really just making a stupid decision.
Yeah.
And the base police didn't arrest us. But our command, they absolutely fried me. Didn't have to. And that really broke my heart. And so over the next 2 years, I was not a great Marine. I was, I'm pissed off, you know, like now I'm salty, now I'm crusty, and I can't wait to get the fuck out of here, because if this is how you treated me, who at the time was a very stellar performer, like top performer, as best you can be, poster boy, and they did what they did to me unnecessarily, it just put a bad taste in my mouth. Could I have handled it differently? Sure. In hindsight, you know, as a mature, almost, you know, 40-year-old now, yeah, I probably wouldn't have hopped the damn fence to, you know, like negate the horse. But it took that away from me. It took a lot of that joy and the love out of me. And so for those next 2 years, I was like, all right, let me just get through my prison sentence, and then I'm going to get out and, you know, go back to life and hope that everything's going to be better for me. And it was, but at the same time, like I said, I ran into some new problems that I didn't really expect to be there, and had to deal with those.
It seems that you're still pretty affected by what happened. Do you think you could ever forgive what they've done to you?
Yeah, I mean, like
I
would say, I'll never forget it, you know, but as far as in like forgive, like I let that go like a long time ago. I mean, it happened, what happened. And at the end of the day, I was wrong. You know, it's not like, it was unwarranted. I can't say that. It's like if someone, you know, if you and I, if you and I were surfing together and, you got eaten by a shark. Hope that doesn't happen. But I'm not going to go fucking hate all the sharks and go on a shark, you know, killing spree. I would mourn your death. I'd be sad to see my friend gone, but the shark didn't come on land. You know, we were in its territory, and it did what it knows to do. They didn't come knock on my door and say, hey, we're going to fuck your career up. Like I did that.
No.
You know, did they have to do what they did? I don't believe so. But were they do they have the right to do it legally? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, I can't harbor anger for that, you know, never forget it. 'Cause it was a teachable moment for me, a lifelong teachable moment about, again, personal responsibility and accountability. 'Cause it'd be easy for me to blame and whine and moan and all, but it's like, I'm the one that went over that fence. I'm the one that made the decision. There was a domino effect, or a cascade of decisions that preceded me getting in trouble. It wasn't just, hey, it's random Tuesday afternoon, we're going to fuck this dude's career up. You know, hey, this is what we do.
Yeah.
So not so much forgiveness, but yeah, I won't forget it, you know?
Okay. And when it comes to the lies in your childhood, is your father still with us?
He's still with us. I haven't spoken to him in a few years though, but yeah, I believe he's still alive.
And would you go as far as forgive what he's done?
It's a good question. same. I'm not harboring that it's unforgivable. I won't forget it again.
Yeah.
But
Again,
to
yeah.
me, it's like, I forgave you a long time ago, man. Is what I would say. It's just that now he has the opportunity to do things differently. It's impossible to change the past, but you can certainly amend the present in order to have a better future. Like, we can't change the past. I know that. And I'm not going to sit here and scold you verbally with my heartbreak and talk about, like, you shouldn't have done this. I wish you hadn't. That's irrelevant. That's a moot point.
Yeah. You can only learn from it and make for the best for the future.
Yeah. And I've asked for that. Like, and I've said those words like, hey, we can't change the past. It's okay. I'm not hung up on that. But we can work on now. We can try to have some type of relationship now, moving forward with you and my brother and his daughter and your grandchild, like, essentially. But choices are made continuously, priorities are made continuously that show that's not what he wants to do, or that what he thinks that he does are not on the right terms. And by the right terms, I don't just mean like our terms and it's right or wrong, but it's just, it doesn't look like the way through right now. But yeah, forgiveness, a long time ago, now I'm just like, I'm hoping, not hoping, but wishing that it could be different now, but I just don't see it being that way, unfortunately.
Well, thank you for sharing that. To go back to the Marines, was there a specific reason why you chose the Marines?
Yeah, when I first walked into the recruiting office, I actually went to the Navy. And my uncle was in the Navy, did some work for the teams when he was there, and then got out and was a security contractor for a long time and bodyguard in Mexico City. And when I walked into the office, the handshake that the guy gave me, I didn't really like it.
Bad vibes. Like that.
Straight up. I mean, it was just like a what's up, casual kind of handshake. And I was like,
that's not what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, literally on a handshake. I was like, I'll come back in a little bit. Let me just take a walk. And I went right down the hall. Yeah, I went right down the hall to the Marine Corps office. I walked in, and this guy's like, the poster fucking Marine, like, just so squared away and so tailored and crisp, creases and all that shit everywhere. And I walked in, and he puts his hand out, like, right, chest high, and he's like, "What's going on, hard charger?" And just like, and breaks my hand. I was like, "Oh man, this is it." Yeah, I was like, "This is where I'm going," and that was it, man. Like, I went into the first place, like I said, to the Navy office, and on the handshake, I'm not going to do this. Walk right down the hall to the Marine Corps office, and on the handshake, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the spot."
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, your whole life could have changed on just one handshake. Like, if the Navy was, did the handshake differently, and you might have been like, yeah, sure.
Oh yeah.
I keep retrospectively, all the decisions you make every day have such an impact, like magnitude, obviously, and it's just incredible. When it comes to your whole journey in the Marines, what's the most rewarding aspect of being a United States Marines?
The friends, the people you get to serve with and meet, and be exposed to. Exposed to their vulnerabilities, courage, sympathy, empathy, just the different conditions of human emotion that you're around. The selflessness, of other people, like the support, seeing what people do for others, seeing what people go through, the ups and downs, right? They have kids, they get divorced, they get married, they lose kids, they lose friends, they lose parents. Like, you're just you're just exposed to a lot of amazing things of people on an individual level and on a group level. And then
still in contact with those people.
Yeah, a select few. Not too many, but a select few that we've never broken contact, and it's pretty cool.
That's beautiful. This is pure brotherhood.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And on the flip side, what was the most challenging part of being a Marine?
A lot of the similar things. So you go through every adverbial extreme of life. You're the coldest, you're the hottest, you're the saddest, you're the gladdest, the maddest, the happiest, the wettest, the driest, the hungriest, the thirstiest. Like any extreme you can think of, or any condition you can think of, adverbial condition, you go through
feel it, yeah.
polarity of it. Oh yeah. And it'll be like by polarity. So like by degree, it won't, when does hungry become starving? I don't know. When does, cold become freezing or like intolerable? I don't know. Well, you got to go from cold to freezing to intolerable. And it's like a degree, right? Just like hot and cold. When does is zero, like zero is technically freezing, but what is cold? Cold could be 25 degrees on the wrong day. Maybe I don't have the right jacket on. There's a little brisk wind. I'm like, oh, it's kind of chilly. Or it's like, dude, it's 25 degrees. And for everybody listening, Celsius, not Fahrenheit. But when does cold become cold? When does hot become hot? Similar to those conditions, you go through these extremes because you can be the happiest of your life, the absolute happiest, doesn't get better. Oh my God, this is nirvana. And then in an instant, it's like the total opposite.
Complete opposite.
Oh yeah. And it's just this amazing, peak and valley of adrenaline and serotonin, oxytocin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, like all this emotional dopamine for sure. Like, oh God, that you just go through constantly. And you never know when it's going to come. So a lot of that unpredictability of adverbial extremes, I'd say that's a tough one.
And did you rediscover yourself in that then? In the sense of you sort of discovered your limits or, rediscover them?
Yeah, you're forced to, I think, because if you don't look at it as learning, you're going to be overcome and overwhelmed, I believe. Because, I can sit there. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of it's retrospective because in the moment it's just fucking dealing with it. And it sucks, when it's extremely cold or hot or sandy or whatever, like it just sucks and you're just dealing with it. But after the fact, looking back on that and go like, wow, like, yeah, like you've built this amazing range of hermetic stress where maybe before you lived in these very small confines of tolerance where like anything that buffered these walls or parameters or lateral limits was a lot to deal with. But because of how much they've been stretched over the years, it's like, man, you like to think you can deal with some shit, And if you don't go through it, you don't build that distance, I think. Because otherwise, if you do go through it and you let it destroy you or give it the opportunity to destroy you, it will.
And are there any aspects of the military life that you miss or wish you could incorporate into your everyday life?
Oh yeah, all the time. And I think anybody that's ever served will say that. There's a lot of things. It is nice to wear a uniform in many ways because you don't have to think about anything, it's great. I don't have to think about what I'm going to wear.
Yeah. It's like a Steve Jobs who just always wear the same stuff.
Yeah. There's perks to that. Paying for ammunition as a civilian sucks. It's expensive. I know you guys don't shoot too much in the UK, but in the States, especially here in Texas, it's a big deal. Yeah. And ammunition sucks to purchase. It sucks. It's so expensive. And even when you
didn't have any privilege of like being ex-Marine, you get a discount.
Maybe there's some places where there's smaller discounts on buys. Yes, there are places that discount.
Yeah.
Let me say that again.
I'd hope.
But when it's free and you're doing it in just insane amounts, when it's like, okay, guys, we have 10,000 rounds we need to get through today, or like each one of you needs to shoot like several thousand. It's like, in the moment, maybe you're excited about that, but then there's part of you that's like, oh my God, I don't want to shoot that much. Like, my fingers are going to be so raw afterwards. But it's like, now I would kill for that. I would fucking kill for that. The levels of fatigue that you get to, the best sleep in the world, the absolute best sleep of your life, where you're so beyond exhausted that you pass out. that you collapse, that you go to sleep fucking instantly.
Yeah.
And you are just, unconscious in the dream world. Whether you're sitting up in a chair, you're sitting up against a wall, you're leaning on your friend's shoulder, you're standing and you're leaning forward against a wall, it doesn't matter. In a vehicle,
Pure fatigue.
in the bed of a truck, sleeping under a vehicle because the engine block is warm. That's a great one. Sleeping on the hood of a Humvee because the engine block is warm. That's a good one. Digging a small grave in the desert to sleep in because the wind will blow over you so you don't stay cold and you stay a little bit warmer in the back. That's a good one. But these little places of just of amazing comfort that you have to earn them in order to get them. So now I'm like, man, I'd love to have those without having to be in those places. I'd love to tap into those feelings without having to do the work that's required to, spawn them. That's a big one for sure. And then, peak moments of really cool operations and training that, I wouldn't want to have to do the 3 months workup for whatever mission it is. I'd rather just go on the mission, and then when the mission's over, leave. Not, okay, we got to do all this stuff to come out of it. And, basically just being able to nickel and dime certain parts of the experience as opposed to having to be totally committed back to it.
Do you think every young man should go through some sort of military, what would you call it, like camp for like a certain period of time?
That's tough.
For all of those, lessons you've learned and all the takeaways.
I think there's definitely a tremendous benefit that can be obtained, but making it be mandatory, I don't know. I don't know if it would have the same sense of worth to the recipient. I don't know.
You think the recipient has to go by his own will to make it long-lasting?
That's the way I've seen it. That's the way I've experienced it, and that's really the only way I could relate to it. Maybe people that were drafted during war times, previously during the Second World War and Vietnam, could talk more on that and how, volunteers versus draftees were as far as in what they felt. But I think, it's tricky, man, especially now, forcing anyone to do anything. You're asking for a big bag of worms, but there are lots of, several countries that have mandatory military service. And it seems to be, from what I've met of those people from these various countries, pretty squared away individuals, men and women. So there's definitely method to that madness. Doing that, however, in the United States, I think that's the
There'd be a lot to ask. Yeah, I interviewed this friend of mine who's a flatmate in uni. He's Cypriot, so in Cyprus it is mandatory for the first
nice.
I think 14 months.
Yeah,
and every Cypriot I've met on campus, they've all said the same thing. They just hated it. Because the whole thing of it being mandatory and everybody goes, and when the other generations say, oh shit, so you just go with the fact it's going to be shit, and obviously it influences your belief on it, and obviously everybody's going to say it's shit, and he didn't take much from it, unfortunately, which is sad because it was a good opportunity to try to get something out of something that you didn't want to do. But yeah, it would be interesting to see how it would work on a larger scale. It'd be very interesting to see that. I don't know how it would go. And as you said, in the US, I go, no. It'd be a bit like, weird work. I don't know.
Yeah.
And could you share a specific experience that taught you a valuable lesson applicable to your work in personal development or entrepreneurship?
Self-reliance is a big one. The core values of the Marine Corps are honor, courage, and commitment. All also very important. And courage is, as I'd say, probably the big one of those three. Because courage is something that does not exist on its own. What does that mean? Courage only comes from fear. Courage must have fear as its catalyst. Otherwise, there is no courage because there's no need for it. So what does that mean, though, Jake? I don't understand. You have to be afraid in order to be courageous. You have to be in a place of fear. You have to look at the fear, identify it, tell yourself, fuck, I'm scared. Oh man, like you have to have that internal dialogue or outspoken. And then move forward in the face of it. That is courage.
Mm.
And that's a great place to test yourself. And a very simple place for us to be able to test ourselves constantly.
Get out of the comfort zone. Absolutely.
Get out of the comfort zone. Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
It's fucking scary, yeah.
Nail on the head, man. Like, you know, most people in the world have a fear of public speaking, or it's one of the most common fears is a fear of public speaking. Best thing you can do is fucking speak publicly. It sucks. It's hard. It's not what you want to do. But absolutely, you want to. If you think about this, how simple it is. That is a totally mentally created handicap in place of paralysis. It is not because you don't have the capacity. It is not because you don't have, you know, you're missing a limb or you don't have the aptitude. Like you, for 99% of you out there, you have everything you need in the form of resources, tools, ability, and capacity to do it. But the fear can be very real, no doubt. It's palpable. But how simple it is to just say, you know what, I can mitigate this. I can best this demon just by leaning into it a little bit.
Yeah, just do it.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be uncomfortable. I'm not going to like it. But little by little, it's not going to be as uncomfortable. Little by little, you're not going to like it, or rather dislike it as much. And dare I say, you might start enjoying it. And little by little, you're going to get good at it. And then you're going to feel like you want to do it. And then it's going to give you satisfaction. And all that turns into joy, positivity, self-esteem. You've created self-reliance. You've leaned into the fear. You've created, or rather, you found courage. You're committed to this way. Like, they all tie into each other. You know, the leadership traits, they're complementary in many ways. But the courage one for me is big because it has to have fear in order to do it. But it's like the one that you can use and just explode into all the other ones. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, you have to be fucking afraid. Have to be afraid. Because you won't take the risks that are necessary if you're not. You'll run away. Because for sure there are risks. And risk mitigation, risk analysis, that's entrepreneurship 101. It's constant risk mitigation and risk decision making as far as in do's and don'ts, goes and no-goes. And a lot of them, for the most part, are goes. It's raining outside. Fucking better put on a rain jacket. It's pretty hot outside. Well, you better drink some fucking water. Like every little hurdle, every little thing, like where funds are getting tapped out. Well, you better take out another loan. Money's, well, then you better figure out how to generate some more revenue. Everything has to be a solutions-based mindset as an entrepreneur. It can't be a fear-based, overrun by a problem. Because problems are going to come. But you've got to be solutions-based, solutions forward-thinking, like proactive. Not, you're going to have to be reactive at times, yes, but it's mostly about proactive. And that's going to be that's got to be you being able to handle fear. That's all it is. It's being afraid that I'm broke. It's being afraid that are my ideas going to work. It's being afraid that what if they don't think I'm good enough? It's being afraid that what if somebody steals it? It's being afraid of what happens if I don't make enough? All the what ifs, all the I don't knows, all the maybes, all the doubts, all the skepticism. That is fear. That's the fear-based mindset. That's a small-based mindset, but that is the voice and face of fear in life and for sure in entrepreneurship. You don't want fear? You want surety? Fine. Go do your 9 to 5. Get your W-2. Be an employee. Do not be an independent contractor. Do not be an entrepreneur. Have your stable paycheck every 2 weeks. Have your 401k. Have your pension plan. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying if you want that, go for it. Great. But if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want the freedom to yourself, to your time, to your pursuits, your passion, your curiosity, then you're not going to get that. And you need to know that at the fucking starting line. Because if you keep looking back forward, like, oh my God, I'd sure love some fiscal stability. It's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. it's going to be like this. You're going to have to learn how to manage your books. You're going to have to learn how to deal with, operations. You're going to have to learn how to be lean as fuck. You're going to have to learn how to deal with receivables and payables and know what limbo looks like for spending and cash holding, to be able to say, like, okay, like, we can leverage a little bit on one and we can, kind of short something on the other side as far as in your capacity and your available funds. Like, you're going to become an accountant. You're going to have to learn finance. You're going to have to learn different parts of business, not just about producing the product or providing the service, but you're going to have to learn. And learning that shit is hard. It's not easy. And it's not like it's a case study in a class. It's your fucking livelihood, But at the same time, that's the fun, man.
Yeah, the stakes are high. It's scary, but you got to do it.
Hell yeah. Like, who else is there better to trust than you? Who else is there better to protect your baby than you, your dream, than you? You don't want to put it in somebody else's hands that's not ready for it. Like, you want to have the fucking weight of that on your shoulders. That's the motivation. That's the drive. There's a great book called It Takes What It Takes. Forgive me for not remembering the author's name, but I remember the title. And there's a part in that book where he talks about the entrepreneurial struggle. And he uses this really good metaphor or analogy of it being, because I'm going to say like or as, it's like the breath of a wolf being on the back of your neck as you're running to survive. Yeah. What keeps you running? Is it the desire to live, or is it the fear of being eaten?
The fear. Yeah.
Like, which is it? Like, I don't know, because I think we all have a pretty good desire to live, but would you be running at this rate that is above your known capacity and ability, that is beyond your means and perceived limits, if it were not for that of the wolf? I don't know. So to me, all these things that I see is like, whether it's debt's a good one. That's usually the one that most of us are crippled by mentally, because we're like, fuck, I'm broke, or I need to make more money. Like, yeah, because we're all, when you're a slave to a tool, what are you? Because that's what money is. It's a tool. It's a means. Mm-hmm. And when you're a slave to that means, it fucking owns you. So being able to find how it becomes your tool to use, your tool to create with, and how you choose to wield that weapon, it becomes a totally different mindset, and that's a paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, you got to be afraid, man. You got to find your own breath of the wolf to keep you going, to keep you staying up at night, to keep you getting up earlier, to keep you grinding in the books, to keep you studying when other people are partying, to keep you working in the lab. Like I like to say, like, I love living in the lab. I love, constantly creating ideas and trying to, crack new codes of my own self that I'm going to be able to use to better understand people and in turn better serve them. Delving into the mind more and more and more, delving into, things about philosophy and different forms of energy and epigenetics and neuroscience and things that make us tick as human beings, because so much of what people do is superficial. And what people want in the form of product is really superficially driven, as opposed to learning to understand people and to what makes them tick. It's going to help you better understand yourself and thus be able to make you better serve them. Mm. And it all comes from fear. Like I said, I'm going to keep going back to that, man. Like, finding the breath of the wolf in your own life to keep you running to survive is the first, I guess, hack that I would say to anyone. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to find the breath of your wolf, or find your wolf to breathe on,
That's absolutely well said. Absolutely well said. I was like, mind blown. Wow. It's like, goddamn.
Well, I ripped it off from that book, so if that's how they meant it, like, whatever, but that's how I interpret it.
That's perfect. It is exactly that. Absolutely, man. I want to shift now towards physical and mental health, because you mentioned you mentioned a focus on physical and spiritual nutrition. Could you delve deeper into what you mean and what it means to you and how it contributes to your overall well-being?
Yeah. One of the only places in the world where we are told, instructed, required even, to truly prioritize our own self-care is an emergency situation on an airplane. In case of an emergency, the masks will come down. Be sure to put your mask on first before offering assistance. The only place in the world where it's like, hey, be selfish, do this first, take care of you, and then deal with what's going on around you. So imagine you have to look down at your daughter or your little boy, and they're next to you, and you're between them both. Ooh, this is good. I'm between my kids on the seats, in the aisle, or in the row, excuse me. And the things come down, God forbid, and I have to look at them and go, non-verbally, Daddy's got this. Daddy's got to do this first, and then he's going to take care of you afterwards. But then you got to think after that, like, okay, well, who goes first between the two of them? Fuck. But nonetheless, it's me having to go first because I'm being told that it is for my and those around me's best interest for me to do so. Everywhere else in life, we're not told to do that. Work more, earn more, make more, sleep less, rest less, sacrifice more. Don't cut that corner. Harder, more. Not necessarily smarter, not necessarily faster, not necessarily more efficient, not necessarily with longevity in mind. 4 years ago was a lot of bullshit, a lot of psychological warfare, a lot of governmental manipulation of psyche and instilling fear amongst people. Yeah. But a great thing that was, I believe, taken from 4 years ago was people realizing the importance of self-care and prioritizing self-care. And that, man, we can do this a lot better. And clearly we've shown that we can, from now working for many people lesser hours, but producing more and more qualitative work. How? Because we've now begun to nourish ourselves with physical and spiritual nutrition. What does that mean? It doesn't mean running marathons. It doesn't mean being an Ironman. It just means having your God-given ability to move and using it for 99% of us. There are people, of course, that deal with locked-in syndrome, and even those that deal with locked-in syndrome that still write books, that still do things in spite of the fact of having no movement below the neck and having to just basically use their eyes to be able to speak and communicate. Look up, you want to fucking complain? Look up locked-in syndrome and see how that feels. Being totally conscious and awake, but having absolutely zero movement whatsoever. And people still make shit happen. Writing fucking books, man, through blinking. But for most of us, like we're born with this ability to move. And it's through this movement that our bodies are able to regulate themselves, to heal, to maintain this healthy place of homeostasis.
To flourish, yeah.
Totally. We're not meant to be sedentary and mind-warped and just sucked into places of sedation through visual screen, through hammering away at something, through, just over inundated amounts of labor, manual, mental, or otherwise. Work is important, yes, but passion, emotion, conviction are more important. And I think that similarly in the form of nutrition, people chase calories rather than nutrients. Stupid. Your body wants nutrients. Understanding your body's needs nutritionally will always outweigh anything you think it wants calorically. 220-ounce bottle of Coca-Cola, forget what that is, like half liter, is...
I guess.
It's 250, 260 calories, I believe. I forget.
Okay.
So if you think someone, that is a strict adherent to the calories in, calories out methodology for maintenance, surplus, or deficit, okay, we'll say 250 calories for the 20-ounce Coca-Cola bottle just for the sake of simple math. If my maintenance caloric amount is 2,500 calories, that means, by that logic, I can drink 10 bottles of Coca-Cola a day in order to maintain my physical state.
And unhealthy.
Go ahead and do that and see how you feel. Number one. Okay, so by that logic, I can drink, 3,000 calories worth of those Coca-Cola bottles, or 12, and be able to gain weight. Or I can drink less of them, 8 and be in a deficit to be able to lose weight. Yeah, and see how that's going to make you fucking feel. And then what's the longevity of that? What's the realistic applicability of that to your life?
How does it impact your health too? Underlying health.
1,000%. My kind of thesis of health in the form of nutritional science is that the single most effective thing we can do as human beings in regard to our health is controlling what we put into our mouths. Period. End of story. Full stop. Bolded, underlined, and italicized. But isn't it about working out? No. Control what you put in your fucking mouth. That's it. There are 4 vitals of...
You are what you eat.
4 vitals of humanity. Eating, sleeping, eating, sleeping, breathing, and drinking. And by drinking, I don't mean alcohol, I mean water.
Yeah.
Hydration.
Hydration, yeah.
The one of those that is the most communal or team sport is eating. The rest of them are individual sports for the most part. But no matter what, any of those things that you manipulate heavily can have a radical result. You want to fuck with somebody's head real good? Take the sleep away. Oh, yeah. There's a reason we use it in interrogation. It's very effective.
It's true.
You want to really get somebody's life critical really fast? Take their air away. Works like a charm. Breath work is also tremendously beneficial, however. So now we're talking about hormetic stress, something that in the right amount of stress tolerance can be very beneficial, but too much of it can be extreme and deadly. Similarly to hydration. Overhydration or hyponatremia, it's too much. You dilute the body of its nutrients. Fasting, especially dry fasting, tremendously impactful. Profound health benefits. You have fucking cancer, skip the chemo, skip the radiation, dry fast. That cancer will be dead within a few days, maybe a couple of weeks. It's going to kill everything else in your body. It's going to be very difficult to deal with. Yeah, but guess what? Even cancer needs water to survive. Remove the water, remove the cancer. But Jake, to a 10, 14-day dry fat, you want to do that or you want to be hooked up to a fucking ventilator?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
having an IV drip? Losing your everything of your body. And so that's hydration. But each of those, like I said, those are all individual sports. You sleep by yourself for the most part, even when you're sleeping with someone, it's not done communally. You're drinking, it's into your mouth. It's not really like we sit around and, hey, we're having a water circle. Yeah, The breath work, you're breathing for yourself. Again, you could be in a class or a group of people doing some breath work together. Sure. But eating, as much as it's an individual sport, it's very much team sport.
Why?
We do it together. We're sad. We're happy. We're celebrating. We're mourning. Whatever the occasion, whatever the event, it's a birthday, it's a fucking funeral. It doesn't. Hey, we're traveling. Hey, Jared, we're flying from the UK and we're going to go to Cyprus. Awesome. On the way from your place to the airport, we stop and get a snack. Once we get to the airport, we get something in the lounge. On the flight from London to Cyprus, it's a few hours. They're going to serve lunch. Perfect. We'll eat there too. Once we land in Cyprus, oh my God, let's get something here. We get something at the hotel once we arrive. Then we go out to dinner. Then we have drinks. Then we have afterwards. Everything about what we've just done has been about eating. It's been about consumption. And that's where the big metaphor is this metaphor of consumption, that we are humans, as modern humans, we live to eat rather than eat to live. And when I talk about physical and spiritual nutrition, it's about respecting your body's needs, giving it what it needs, not what you think it wants, rather not what you want. It's a very difficult place to be.
Yeah, no,
I'm not telling people to suppress happiness. I'm not telling people to not indulge, but don't do it every fucking day. I took a fun day this year for Thanksgiving this past year and fasted for Thanksgiving because, Thanksgiving is a big American holiday, right? And everybody eats. It's a huge eating day with the family and everybody cooks all this food. And I'm like, we have one of the most statistically unhealthy countries on the fucking planet. We have 364 other days where we're clearly getting the food in. Why not maybe take this one as a day to abstain, reflect, and be grateful for, like, you know what? I'm actually not going to do that. Anyway, so I fasted for Thanksgiving, and that's going to be my kind of going trend moving forward, is to fast for Thanksgiving, because that's my way of prioritizing that physical and spiritual nutrition. Because I know what I'm putting into my body, yes, absolutely directly correlates to how I'm going to feel, how I'm going to look, how I'm going to sleep. So many diseases that exist, issues of health, dietarily, mentally, emotionally, and otherwise. Sleep. I'll just take these pills. I'll just go to this person. I'll just get prescribed to this med. It's not anything wrong with you. It's this simple connection of circuits that should be open, or these open circuits that should be closed in a neural pathway. It's a biochemical imbalance that's taking place typically through a nutrient deficiency or surplus within the body that is causing this static and this friction for the body not to operate.
This disbalance in the brain.
Totally. And you think that there's something wrong with you, that I have HD or ADHD, that I have anxiety, that I have depression, that I have this autoimmune disease or diseases, that I have sleep apnea, that I can't get an erection.
Let's talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, that I can't get an erection, that I can't have children, that I can't ovulate properly, that I can't deal with my menopause or my hormonal regulation or this. Like, okay, well, what else are you taking? That laundry list of shit you don't think is disrupting you? You don't think all those prescription pills with all those side effects that has, like, may cause, indigestion, suicidal thoughts, erectile dysfunction. Like, what the fuck? This thing is perfect. For 99% of us, this thing is perfect.
Yeah, it is.
But from birth, we've been fucking it up.
Yeah, clearly. And it goes back when you were talking about calories in, calories out. When I first started going in the gym, so I'm a very, very slim guy, so my metabolism is over the roof. And there's these, content creators in the gym space, like Sam Sulek or Joe Fraser. They're the kinds of ones that be like, just eat pizza, it's calorie dense, and have that like chocolate milkshake and blah blah blah. And you're like, but that's fucking up your health. Like, just check it. Or like, and most of it is like just shit food. Like, not even just the sugar quantities, but just all the additives. And especially in the US, I mean, I'm sorry, like, compared to the UK, I was talking about this with another guest. If you compare, like, even like ketchup, the UK ketchup
Chips,
and the US
Gatorade,
ketchup,
crisps,
like
Gatorade.
the list of ingredients goes from this to that, and you're like, what the fuck are you adding in? It's the same food, it's the same flavor, and they're still adding all this stuff. I'm like, wow. Honestly, we just don't give a fuck anymore of what we consume. It's just all about just eating and instant gratification of what makes me feel good now. Well, I'll have that in a Ben Jerry's, or which is, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'll have a Ben Jerry's, once in a while, like once a month. I'll be like, okay, sure, but like, yeah, it's not. I'm not going to go into the debate of that. But you're completely right. We are what we eat, and people just don't realize the correlation between the food you eat and everything that's going wrong in your body. And as you said, entrepreneurship is a very, very long and hard journey. And I mean, your body is your car, your vessel. And to take it there, I mean, no crappy car's going to, go from the West Coast to the East Coast. You want to take care of it, you want to polish it, you want to put the right fuel in it. Because if you put shitty fuel, it's just not going to run. Or it might run, but it blow up after like like a couple of miles, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and my dad's always said it, is that your body is your vessel, and you only have one. So take care of it. And not only with food, as you said, with breath work, with hydration, with quality sleep. And people just forget it. And I think it's also, please.
It's a simple formula, like you touched on there. And what's your favorite Ben & Jerry's flavor, by the way?
I want to say cookie dough, but there's this, I can't remember what it's called. And there's like chocolate chunks with like caramel in it. I don't know what it is. I recently discovered that. I don't know. Nice. I guess it's maybe a UK thing, but I guess cookie dough, that's a classic go-to.
They got a lot of wicked flavors for sure.
Yeah.
And it's very true about the ingredients, UK Gatorade compared to American Gatorade, totally different. UK ketchup and condiments, totally different. Crisps, bags of crisps, there compared to here, totally different. Like for anybody that doesn't know, like look at a bag of potato chips in the US compared to a bag of potato chips in the UK. Look at, like Jared said, fucking ketchup or a condiment in the UK compared to the US. And there are way more ingredients in the US version. And they won't sell a lot of the foods that are here there, straight up. A lot of the boxed and processed and packaged and manufactured foods are just not even sold there, which is, let that be a reason for you. But, man, what I feel to be the truth, Jared, is that people don't want that to be the truth, in the sense that don't tell me that my diet is holding the keys to all that. Don't tell me that's the secret. I'd rather take a pill. I'd rather have to pay somebody something. I'd rather have to not change that part of my life and still get this result that I want.
Yeah, I'd rather stay in my comfort zone.
Fuck
Okay,
yeah.
that's too scary to change my whole diet and not eat the Ben Jerry's.
Yeah. Don't attack my diet. Just like I was saying with those 4 vitals. If I attack your breath, how are you going to react? If I attack your hydration, if I attack your sleep, how are you going to react? You're going to fucking defend those things viciously. Like your life depends on it, because it fucking does. Same thing with your food. Now, it's not just about your life depending on it. I'm attacking your fucking identity. I'm attacking your ideology. I'm attacking your culture. I'm attacking your mother, your father, your grandparents, your friends, everything that you learned and were told, how you grew up. I'm attacking your fucking religion. Ooh, good one. I'm attacking your fucking nationality. Oh, even better. Now, what are you going to say? Like, oh, this motherfucker's coming at me like that. Like, you feel emotionally threatened. It gets personal real fast. Nobody gave a shit when I was a drug addict. Nobody gave a shit when I was a drunk. People, had an occasional bad opinion about being a Marine. Whatever. They get over that. When I was a vegan, people would make fun of me. But for the most part, they were pretty tolerant and acceptable. People fucking hate me now. There are a lot of people that do not like me. They do not like the positions that I take in the form, and as far as nutrition's importance. They don't want to believe it, Jared. They don't want to believe that. Someone comes to me with depression, business coaching, relationship counseling, physical, body recomposition, and it does not matter. The first question I'm going to ask you is what's your diet like? First question. No, Jake, but I'm here for business coaching. Great. How's your diet? No, I'm trying to repair things with my wife. Great. How's your diet?
That's going to impact your work and your life and your relationships.
Right it is. Because I'm not going to fight that too. It's already going to be hard enough to get into your mind, into your heart and spirit and place of vulnerability. It's going to be hard enough to do that. But if you put up these walls unnecessarily, like, we're never fucking going to get there. How can you want to come talk to me about getting over depression when you're still drinking alcohol?
Exactly.
Alcohol is by chemical nature a liquid depressant. And you're talking to me about wanting to no longer be depressed. Yeah, but I still drink, like 3 nights a week. So I'd really like to keep that. How fucking stupid do you sound? If you can't see that in clear, plain color vision, what are we even talking about? Yeah, but it's not the same. You don't understand. Like, my doctor and I grew up in Paris and like red wine is fine.
Said.
Like, fine. Yeah, fine. Then fucking fuck off back to him. He's who got you here in the first place, right? That way of thinking is what brought you here in the first place. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's dogmatic. I'm not saying it's absolute. But I know for sure you walked in here feeling a certain way. I suggested one thing and you said you were willing to do whatever it took. And the first suggestion to you, you're ready to say, fuck no. There's a great old quote. It's either Pythagoras or Hippocrates. I forget who, but before you offer someone help, medical help, ask them if they're willing to give up that which makes them sick. And for most people, the truth is they do not want to. They are not willing to. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. Like, I'm so tired of feeling sick and tired. I'm ready to upgrade. I'm ready to lose the weight. Okay, here's the plan. Oh my God, I can't do that. Then fuck off. Stay right where you are. And
I keep coming with this quote, and it just applies to everything, is that you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink.
no, and I see it with sobriety. It's a very tough place with sobriety, especially. You know, we will lie to our families, to our friends. I'm going to get off the bag. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop lying. I'm going to stop sleeping around. I'm going to stop gambling. Whatever the vice, we will lie through our teeth. I've done it. I've stolen. I've cheated. I've gone and told people I was somewhere I wasn't, and told my family things that I was still in school and I wasn't. I mean, the depths you will go through to maintain the habit and protect it is incredible. Doesn't matter how bad people want you to change. It doesn't matter how many times they cry, how many times they sit you down, how many interventions you have, and they promise and you promise, and it's all like super emotional and like, I'm going to change for you guys. I love you. If you don't want to fucking do it, you know right then in that moment that you're not. You're just saying what needs to be said to just get through it. Like, get them the fuck out of here so I can go do my thing.
Mm. Do you know the point when I realized that it was so fucked up is that I could eat a Mars bar and no one would bat an eye, and then I just like pull up a steak and just want to cook a steak. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, bro, steak. You didn't bat an eye for the
Jared?
yeah.
Is that all you're having? What's wrong with you?
And they're like, and the Mars bar is fine, right? I just open the Mars bar. Oh, okay. Or M&Ms. Oh, can I have some? Yeah. Steak. Why are you having steak at this time? Or why? Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, well, everything's fucked up.
Why are you not eating, Jake? Why don't you eat? I'm fine. I'm fasting. I've chosen not to. I don't think I need to eat 3 times a day or every single day. Well, isn't that weird? Isn't that unhealthy? Well, like you said, snack as the person asking me these questions, chewing on the candy bar, drinking a big fat soda and whatnot. Everything we think, you know, our modern eyes and ears see the world in a very specific way. You know, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, just 100 years ago, it was a very different place. Things have moved so progressively fast in the form of abundance. And amidst that abundance, it is not synonymous with quality. It is an inverse correlation to quality. We have created more, but it has gotten worse. Whereas in the past, there was less available, but its quality was much more
good,
yeah, it was higher. You know, you walked into the store, items were whole foods. They were perishable. There was not, you know, the majority of the grocery store now you walk into, the majority of the store is aisled goods, dry aisled goods. The perimeter is usually the safe space where you have your fresh produce and meat and fish and poultry and, you know, things in the glass and on ice that are perishable. But the majority of the stores now are aisled goods, boxed package wrappers. And most of those are not man-made, are not naturally occurring items, but have to be made. And we wonder what is going on. You know, 90% of the foods available today were not available 100 years ago. And 90% of the illnesses, the dietarily related illnesses that are here today, problematic, killing us, crippling us, were not available 100 years ago. Weird. But again, we don't want that to be the answer. We don't want that to be the reason. I see this every day with people that come to me, whether they're new clients, inquiring clients, or otherwise, every single day. People are begging Jared for the missing link in their lives to be a workout plan. Begging. They're begging for the place that they're losing their battle with health or their physique or their minds to be that they're not running enough, that they're not lifting enough, that they're not intense working out. And I need to work out 10 days a week instead of 5. It's not where you're losing the fight.
Yeah.
For 99% of you, it's not where you're losing the fight. You're losing it on your fucking plates.
It's sad because they just defend it. Like, and it is sad because it is an addiction and they're just there. Like, same for depression. Like, yeah, but I've got depression. And like, bro, are you trying to give me depression? Why are you protecting it so much when it's your worst enemy? And same for food and same for everything. And yeah, it's completely mental. I know
it's the world we live in.
You've gone over loads of diets. I saw that on your channel, which I found very amusing and very interesting. Like you did like the Lion's Diet Challenge or like even the watermelon and salts for some time or raw milk. what made you go into these little self experiments, and what were some takeaways you found interesting, especially for example the watermelon one, because I'm very interested in that, how that went by.
I started really messing with diets, I guess about 10 years ago. 10 years ago exactly. Dating my girlfriends, vegetarians, almond milk drinkers, and it just
Have you been a vegetarian or vegan because of your girlfriend?
Yeah, I was a vegan for over 15 months and a vegetarian for about a year preceding that. Yeah, I was actually a vegan before I became a carnivore. That was fun. But girlfriends were my gateway into dietary experimentation. So first girlfriend years ago was a vegetarian, and I was, kind of making fun of it at first. And, we'd go to steakhouses and I'd laugh and do it almost just to antagonize her. But then slowly but surely I started being like, hey, let me try that. Let me try that. Let me try that. And before I knew it, I was pretty pescatarian. And I was fine with it. I thought it was different. I was like, this is a change. Sure, why not? Curiosity was the forefront. Break up with her, kind of go back to doing what I was doing, but still remembering and like taking some notes from what I'd learned. I'm not drinking this thing anymore. I'm eating these foods instead of what I was eating before, but I'm still doing other things, but I've still learned a lot and remembering what I learned. Now I'm dating another girl. It's a full vegetarian. Well, now I'm like, well, fuck, I've already got some experience. Cool. I'll leverage that, put it into this relationship. It keeps the house much more civil also. And I just went with it and then continued to do that just over the years between vegetarian and vegan. And that's what got me into vegetarianism for over a year. It got me into veganism for 14, 15 months. And since 2020, June of 2020, coming up on 4 years next month, I can't believe it. I've been a carnivore, like a hard, dominant carnivore. Red meat, salt, water, steak, bacon and eggs, chicken, wild-caught seafood, organs. Like for the last 4 years, that's pretty much been my diet. Occasional integrations and mixing ins with fruit. So going from like a carnivore diet to say an animal-based diet where the majority of calories are still coming from animals and animal byproducts, but occasional mix-ins with fruit.
Is that just for preference, or did you find that it was also health benefits?
I would say again, curiosity.
You just
like, or maybe even this, my own disbelief, my own not wanting to believe that when I eat just red meat, salt, and water, how good I feel. When I keep a strict carnivore diet, how good I feel, how great I can perform, all these things of just positive notes. But the almost 40-year-old American human in me is like, no, I don't want to just eat meat for the rest of my life. And like, what if I just add this back in? It can't be that bad. Let me try that. So these experiments really flare up from craving, my own desire, my own curiosity of like not wanting to believe it. I look at it all as a scientific method approach. And as a scientist, the job is not to prove law, but it's to constantly test the hypothesis to try and disprove. And I keep trying to disprove this, Jared, and I can't.
You just can't.
And I keep failing. So it's back to that Edison. And I'm like, all right, let me try a little fruit again. Let's see what happens. It's good for a while, or it serves a purpose, but I can't deny the minimalism and the ability to obtain what is obtainable from this very limited, singular almost list of sources and thrive. Like, wow, what the body can do when it's just on red meat, salt, and water is fucking amazing. And to think about how much less of a carbon footprint that means. You walk into a store, it doesn't get any fresher than that. The cow was brought in as a half cow yesterday. It was cleaned and drawn here. 2 days before that, it was processed. I mean, that's right there, as fresh as it gets. And it's as simple as it gets. There's no ingredients, there's no adulterants, no dilutants, no additives, nada. It's just blood and breath right there. And so over these years, it's been curiosity that's got me into those other experiments, short-term experiments. So the raw milk one, that was fun because I've maintained hard. The reason raw milk exists in the mammalian world is to provide that singular source of sustenance from one place to our infants, because it's easily given, transmitted. It's quickly stored, utilized. There's minimal discard, and it stresses the body the least. It's very important for an infant, right? So my kind of logic or thesis on that was like, okay, the null hypothesis of this experiment is if I drink raw milk every day for 30 days, nothing, and consume nothing else, it will have no adverse effect on my health. That was my null hypothesis, the hypothesis of no effect in the scientific method. The theory was that I'm going to not gain any weight. If anything, I'll lose weight and I won't count macros. I'm just going to drink to satiety as needed, and I will overconsume calories, but I bet you that I will not gain weight.
And how much milk would you drink per day?
I started between like a gallon and a gallon and a half.
Okay, wow.
Right? And I got up to almost 2 gallons a day. So, if you look at that macronutriently, you're talking between like, I think 2,600 to 3,500 calories, and anywhere from like 350 to 500 grams of carbohydrates, and anywhere from 150 to 250 grams of protein. Something like that. And fat was a similar amount. And it's funny, people were like, oh, dude, well, how are you consuming all those carbs and blah, 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 blah. Number one, milk is a dominant fat calorie item. Let me say that very clearly. The dominant calorie in milk is fat. Does it have a lot of carbs in it? Yes. Does it have a lot of protein in it? Yes. But the dominant calorie in milk is fat. And I had a guy actually online. It's like, this is bullshit. Like, you're drinking all these carbs and you can't be in ketosis, because I was also getting into ketosis at certain points in this. And I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, because there's way more grams of carbs than there are grams of fat. Well, no fucking shit, dumbass, because carbohydrates and protein, like this, Jared, have 4 calories per gram, whereas milk, because it is a lipid, has 9 calories per gram. So if we have, for simple math, 100 of each, 100 calories of 100 grams of fat, 100 grams of protein, and 100 grams of carbohydrates. 100 times 4 is 400 for the protein. 100 times 4 is 400 for the carbohydrates. 100 times 9 is 900 for the fat. So you have 100 grams of protein and 100 grams of carbs. That's 400 calories times 2. So that's 800 calories between the two of them. And we've got 100 grams of fat. That's 900 calories for the fat. So 900 plus 800, 1,700. So 900 over 1,700 would give you the dominant fat calorie by, I believe, 55%, as opposed to the other two weighing in at 45. Fat is the reason breast milk does what it does, the reason it gives the energy it gives, the reason it is so nutrient dense and rich in the provisions that it provides, the fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins and minerals that come with it. The protein and the carbohydrates, yes, provide energy. Yes, allow for the building blocks of muscle and protein synthesis throughout the body. But it's the fat that is the vessel of servitude to give all that energy. And so it was funny because, again, macronutriently, you look at the list of this and you're like, God, you're consuming like 500 grams of carbs a day, dude, 200 grams of protein and 200 grams of fat, or like, you're going to get fat as fuck. And that, like, dude, I lost a few pounds the first day. And I think the net loss for the month was -5 pounds, I believe. I don't remember. I'd have to check the stats, but I know for sure I didn't gain weight. And that's consuming, like I said, between 2,600 and close to 4,000 total calories a day. And those levels, as mentioned before, of carbohydrates, protein, and fat. The just goes to show, there's a difference between, like we talked about earlier, calories versus nutrients. Big, big, big difference. And then the quality and type of those nutrients. Big, big, big difference. The watermelon idea came up from a troll online that was talking about veganism and advocating for it. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And that's a snake I like to play with a lot, unfortunately, by way of antagonization and provocation. So he said something along the lines of, well, you could never do what you do as a fruitarian or something like that. And I was like, first off, I fucking am a huge fan of a particular fruitarian. His name's Michael, a guy by the name of Michael Arnstein. He was an ultra marathoner. very competitive ultra marathoner. He has run more than 100 races.
Wow.
Okay. And he's won several of them. He's known well in the circuit and Kona and Badwater and the Leadville, all these super well-known reputable races that he's either competed in or won more than once. He went from a 2:45 marathon time to a sub 2:30. He's a mid 2:20s marathoner, which is world-class marathon speed.
Yeah.
And he's been a fruitarian for like 13 years. And by fruitarian, it's like 95% of his calories straight from fruit. So for me, as a carnivore per se, I'm not going to paint myself in this, defined character state.
Yeah.
People that make dietary choices or prioritize any type of a diet, as long as it's conscious, like I respect it. Hey, you're a vegan? Cool. Good for you. Hey, you're a vegetarian? Cool. Good for you. Do I agree with your reasoning? No.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a raw vegan, I really respect you because, man, you're doing it hardcore, like
hard,
legit.
Yeah, that's really hard.
If you're a vegan and you're eating fucking fake chicken and all this other bullshit, like, fuck off. You're eating processed garbage. You're not a purist.
What was it? It's like a fake vegan patties, and there's like 150 ingredients in them. I can't even name.
It's like dog food. You want to see something funny? Put any of those plant-based burgers or vegan foods next to dog food. It's pretty funny. No, I mean the ingredients wise.
Oh, I see. Okay, I thought you were going to say like the dog would
eat it
sorry. Because they're so
label,
shit.
Okay. The ingredients next to each other is a lot of crossover. It's pretty funny. But as far as in edibles, if you put plant-based butter on the ground next to real animal fat butter next to ants per se, watch which ones the ants go to and which ones they don't touch. But the watermelon thing, Michael Arnstein, funnily enough, I haven't heard anything about him since like 2021. Okay. I don't know if he's like fell off the planet or what he's doing. Nonetheless, 100+ 100-mile races, 2:25 marathoner. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what this guy's eating. Like, there's something to learn from this.
To be studied, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, is he on PEDs or anything? I can't say. I don't know. But I do know what he looks like, what his numbers say, and what he's been eating. So for me, again, I put down this is the best diet, and I go, hey, dude, again, I respect you for what you're doing, whoever you are on the street. Good for you. You have conscious choices regarding your diet, your opinions, emotional, this and that. But I was like, this guy's numbers, I'm listening. Yeah, that doesn't lie. You don't run a 2:25 marathon. You don't run 100-mile ultras. You don't win, Kona and these big ones like fucking around. Not Kona, but the one in Hawaii. I can't remember the name of it. But that's serious. And so I was like, all right. And so this guy that was trolling me, I was like, fuck you, I'll do it. And I'll just do it with one fruit too. And I started thinking about the fruits that have the most amount of water in them, and watermelon's top of the list. It's like 92, 93%.
Yep.
I was like, I could do that. I love watermelon anyway.
So good.
I was like, theoretically, this should work. I'm just going to be drinking tons of water. It's going to be like an electrolyte fast. No problem. And that's what it was. I'd have between 10 and 12 on a really heavy day, like 15 pounds of watermelon, but like total. So, I mean, at most, like, 7 kilos at most. I mean, that would be the most. And that's fruit. That's not like the whole watermelon. That's like weighed fruit.
Yeah.
But if you think about that, water weighs 8.5 pounds per gallon. Mm-hmm. All right. So it's like 4 kilos per gallon. Right. It's really like 8 kilos or 2 gallons of water.
Yeah, basically.
It's not much more than that with some nutrients in it. So the calorie deficit that takes place is significant. I mean, you can fucking 10 pounds of watermelon. It's still like, it's 1,500 calories. But you're so full from the volume and the nutrients that it's like, hey, I'm good. And so that was a real bit of insight for me about hydration. We prioritize nutrition, nourishment, and sustenance, thinking that we need to eat. Hydration is far more important. As a human, as an athlete, doesn't matter. Why? Well, there's a reason you can go on a 50-day water fast right now. It's going to be hard, but you can go on a 50-day water fast right now. Try to go on a 10-day dry fast.
Yeah.
Big difference. Big difference.
Brutal.
Big difference. But again, tremendously beneficial. But that's where I really had a big eureka moment of like, oh, fuck me, hydration it's not about, I'm not saying it absolutely yet, but huge prioritization on what we can do first with what we have on deck before we need to supplement with anything externally. Meaning there's a lot more to use on the body, especially ketogenically, before you need to put anything into it. You get fat adapted, man. You can do anything with this thing. As long you got fat on your bones, like you can use it. And so throughout that experiment, I dry fasted every day until I ate, and I ate within a 2-hour eating window. So I had one meal a day, one just massive, consumption of all the watermelon. And I dry fasted every day throughout until I ate. And then I drank basically no water throughout that 30 days.
All the needed water.
Getting it all. I mean, I had 6 bottles over 30 days of some old, or 3 bays mineral water from Australia. It was really good. But 6 liters over a 30-day period,
Yeah,
because I was literally drinking that little amount of water because I was getting it all from the watermelon. And just made me go, man, this is cool. So, each experiment, opens a door for the other one. The 100 days of red meat, salt, and water, that was me wanting to show absolute definitive evidence on a lipid panel and biomarker test, with labs that like, look, this is not the problem. It is not the red meat at the barbecue shack that is killing you, or at the Brazilian steakhouse. Like, don't go, oh, the red meat got me so sick, or the red meat fucked up my arteries. No, the 5 baskets of, plantains cooked and fried in seed oil, and the triple whip mashed potatoes and the polenta and the double Brazilian chocolate cheesecake and the 6 bottles of wine and, that plus the salad bar plus the meat. Yeah, that's what got you sick. But 100 days red meat, salt, and water, and the labs that I showed were fucking phenomenal. And to say like, yeah, it's not where you lose in the fight. Same thing. I did the labs after the watermelon. Great. My testosterone was 1,049,
wow.
after 30 days of watermelon. And people are like, oh my God, watermelon gives you testosterone. No. Same as I said to that. How are you going to keep a high training stimulus? I'm going to recruit that from slow and fast twitch muscle fiber. I'm going to recruit this testosterone through heavy, intense resistance training 5 days a week throughout that 30 days. And sure enough, I did. Same thing, labs after the raw milk. Great. My testosterone actually dipped in that one, which I was surprised by, thinking that the HGH in the milk would have kind of uplifted them. But yeah, okay. My testosterone dipped a little bit. I went from, 800-ish from the 100 days of red meat, salt, and water. I was right around 800. I dipped down to like 350. So it was less than 400 after 30 days of raw milk. Yeah. So I went from 350 to...
So maybe it's maybe a trough before, like if you did it on a longer period of time, do you think it was a trough before going back to a healthy level? Or you didn't take that into account? I
think the training stimulus that had changed when I was on the raw milk 30, I was all triathlon training at the time. I wasn't doing any resistance training. I was strictly triathlon, so run, swim, and bike. And I would say that was the main catalyst to the dip, because as soon as I got into the watermelon challenge, I was already 3 weeks into a heavy strength complex. And then for sure, throughout that 30 days, I was like, all right, I'm going to really hit it hard. And yeah, they're like 2 months apart. I did the raw milk 30, like a month off, and then went right into the watermelon. And there was, I was like 349 after the raw milk, and 1050 or almost 1100 after the watermelon. So it's like, what changed? Like the training stimulus.
I was going to ask you how you make your observations, but obviously you answered that with the lab results. Do you also use like, what's it called, a Whoop? I feel like you talked about this recently.
I have in the past. Yeah, I love the data that the device gives. Yeah. I just don't like wearing it. If I could have one embedded, I would do it. But I don't like wearing the device.
Like a Neuralink.
Yeah. I just don't like wearing the device. And to anybody else, I've had people over the years all the time talking about steroids and performance enhancers and TRT and HGH. To anybody out there, you fucking pay for any test you want me to take anytime. I'll take it. There's a lab core not far from me. It's where I get all my tests done. Yeah, you fucking pay for any test you want me to take. I'll take it anytime, any day.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for all those insights. It is very. I think everybody should try and experiment with their bodies, right? I mean, again, it is yours and it's yours to take care of. So why not just try and experiment? And everybody has their own body, so maybe something works for you and something else works for someone else. So it's important to try. And it's interesting because you got the carnivore diet as a main baseline, and then you would integrate foods, and then you'll see, because as you've got the main baseline, that it would be the food that make the variable changes.
Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense. You're also a 6-time natural physique champion. Congratulations on that. What initially drew you to the gym and these high-level competitions? And how long ago was these?
Initial draw to the gym, I grew up playing sports, soccer, and ran track. And that was kind of just the first, reason. Hey, I need to get faster. I need to get stronger to play a little bit better, especially in track, like trying to build explosive speed. And then it really started from the military of like, I need to get stronger. I need to be able to lift more. I need to be able to pull somebody over a wall. I need to be able to push something. I need to be able to bear weight and load. I need to be stronger, literally. And then over the years, I started to look better. I was like, hey, man, I don't look too bad. This is kind of cool. Like, what a great benefit. Boost. Yeah, what a great benefit from all that. But it started for me out of need for strength. Like, I was skinny. I was 145 pounds when I graduated from boot camp. So probably like 60 kilos, something like that. I mean, I was like,
how tall are you?
5'9". So it's 172 centimeters. But I was, 172.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I was like, or 175, I forget. I was like, damn, like I was so thin. And so I needed the meat to be able, like I said, carry other people and bear the loads that we walk around with and all that stuff. And then it started to look good. And I was like, cool, confidence boost. Like you said, like you feel better about how you look. But it all started for me of the need of strength. And I would say that to a lot of people out there. Like, I know we all want to look better and look good and be happy with how we look. But if you can come with a more compelling need, you're going to get a more compelling result. Like if you come with a need because, hey, I need to get stronger. Awesome. I need to feel better. Awesome. I need to be healthier. I need to be able to move better. Awesome. Don't come with I'm trying to get abs. Don't come with I just want arms. I just want a butt. Don't do that. I've been there. I know what that feels like. I know what that's like. And the result is not what you're going to want it to be. It's not going to be what you think it is. I promise. Come with, I want to be healthier for me. I want to be stronger. I want to be able to move better. I want to be able to play with my fucking kids. I want to be able to play with my grandkids. Like, I want to be able to just be a human being and operate normally and healthily, not be handicapped by my lack of shape or inability physically that I've done to myself over the years. Like, change and focus on that. And I promise you, the exterior will follow.
Yeah, I think it's one of the worst feelings you could possibly have as a man is feeling weak.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, because you could just, play these scenarios in your head where if you had to, like, save your girlfriend or do anything that would require strength, which is, most of the time when there's danger, and you know that you wouldn't be able to do that, you're like, well, I'm useless. Well, like, I'm just weak, and it is
not a good feeling.
It's not a good feeling.
Not honestly. A good feeling at all. But yeah, I eventually, over time, started building experience. Like 5, 10, 15 years of doing that. And like, I got pretty good at it, working out and experimenting and learning. And who can I take a page from this book and like adapt this, training philosophy, and okay, this is a different modality. I'll try that out. And then the origins and inception of CrossFit were happening right when I was getting out of the military, which was really cool. And then one day I was, working out in New York, and a friend of mine was like, dude, you look pretty good. Like, you should try to compete in a show. I knew nothing about it. This is almost 10 years ago. And I said, sure, fuck it, why not? How hard can it be? Pretty
Turns
darn.
out it was, yeah.
Yeah, pretty darn. Yeah, pretty darn. Something that you definitely have to commit to fully. And then it was also completely not what I thought it was going to be.
In what sense?
You get judged, and it's hard. It's hard to be judged. You can be what you think is perfect. You can have what you believe to be the perfect package to win, and you're not even good enough for fucking 5th place.
That burns.
Or
that stings.
Yeah, it's. I like merit-based stuff. We're running a race, Jared. You fucking crossed the finish line before me. Damn it, you won. I can't. Well, we kind of like Jake's running form better, even though Jared crossed the finish line first. We're gonna give it to Jake. I don't like. I like that. I don't like that. I like just pure merit. To where it's competition based on performance. Awesome. Subjecting yourself to judgment was the challenge I didn't see coming, and it was really hard because you put your heart and soul into it, and what you think is your best foot forward, and then it's not good enough, or it's not good enough for you. Like when for me, it was always fucking first place or nothing. Like I'm not there to get 10th. Or silver.
No one goes there like, oh, I'm gonna be 3rd or second. No one says that.
Yeah, you're like a fighter. Like I'm not walking in there unless I'm beating this guy.
By the way, a side question: what do you think of participation trophies?
Tough. Depends on the event. I think it depends on the event. Like, okay, example: we run the London Marathon. Yeah. We're all gonna get medals.
Yeah.
For doing that. I think that's good. Yeah. It depends on the event. Depends on the age group. I think I get where you're coming from with the question, but should there be a 10th place ribbon at the 10-person swim meet for 1st grade kids? I don't know.
You know what's interesting, because you did say for marathon you accept it, but where do you draw the line between a marathon is, as you said, acceptable, but then for football, why shouldn't both teams, get the trophy, because they did work both equally as hard, and it was, you see what?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
okay, I'm glad you brought up football. Have you ever watched the 3rd place World Cup game?
Yes.
What'd you think?
No.
Okay, you've never watched it, right?
No, never.
Case in point.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the ratings for the World Cup 3rd place game. I don't know what they are, but I bet you they suck. The bronze medal Olympic games for any of this hockey, any of the dual-sided sports, soccer, whatever. I bet you they're terrible.
I didn't even know it existed until recently.
Who's the player that threw the medal away? There's a famous player that after a World Cup final.
Well, all the English. Were they English? No, what? Yeah,
was
England in the Euro Cup, all the English players took it off.
When they lost to Italy?
When they lost to Italy, yeah.
Yeah.
I know Grealish and all that. A couple of players, Sterling kept it, but most of them they just go and just took it off. Like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's
understandable. But
there's there's certain sense of competition within competition. But I think there are places where it's good to have a participation, but then at times you could instill the wrong sense of, I don't know, it could be just the instillment of a wrong sense. You
didn't work as hard as this team, and you didn't do as well, but you still get the same reward.
Yeah, well, like the 10-person swim meet that you finish 10th place in, and you get a 10th place ribbon, and out of 10 people. I don't know. It just kind of it's a tough conversation to get into, because to me, it's more about you instill that into a child or an impressionable mind. Now they're not going to understand or value the sense of competition, but at the same time, the inclusiveness and appreciation that comes with having
both values are very important.
Yeah, I think it's a very tough place to attack.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate.
Yeah, so a friend of mine was like, "You should try it." I get into it, and I did not see the judgment, bane coming so clearly. And I was like, fuck, when the first show happened and I take second thinking that, I'm an easy walk. This is a fucking breeze. I kill this thing. And then I was like, fuck, and then it's immediately, what did I do wrong? Or they, it's a real cool internal dialogue that you go through.
Did you see a competition before competing? Which made you think did the competition?
Did I see no, I was actually,
okay.
A friend of mine, a girlfriend of mine, told me that she was competing, and then a friend of ours was like, "Oh my God, y'all should do it together." and that was it. And I was like, sure, how hard can it be? And that started a career for me, because once I got into it and saw that, hey, I could do pretty well at this. I had a great coach. And then it was just like, buying into the preparation. I was like, fucking, if it's about preparing, I'll out prepare anybody. If it's about following, this strict diet plan and strict exercise plan, I was like, I can out prepare anybody. Like that's a place where nobody's going to beat me.
Mm.
I couldn't do anything about what happened on the stage. I could only do the best that I could, which I didn't like. So I like, parts of that life, but I like running races instead. Like I said, I like running races instead. It's fun doing that. It's fun competing and being on stage and having those moments. The preparation that goes into it. Obviously you look the way you look. It's cool, but it's also a facade. It's a momentary glimpse of what you look like, and most people don't walk around looking like that. I looked like that for quite a while, just because I was in an industry that required it, which was great, because you get a phone call from your agent like, hey, I need you to be at this studio for a shoot. Are you ready to go? I'm like, yep, I'm ready to go. That's kind of neat, but you're not the healthiest. For most people, you're not the healthiest, so I saw a lot of fraudulence within that, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy. It just means you look good.
And wait, do you believe that or not?
Oh, I'm saying, like, for most people in the bodybuilding world, they just look good. They're not actually healthy.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah. No. If you look at Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
But even back then, he wasn't. It was way. Yeah.
There's a lot of illusion,
and there's your body has limits, and when you tend to try and push what God has created, you just end up fucking it up, unfortunately. So.
Yeah.
What did your split look like back then for the gym? What did it look like what does it look like now?
Then, I mean, I was, training every day with light cardio sprinkled intermittently throughout. It was all, bodybuilding, heavy isolated muscle groups, with lots of sets, lots of volume, lots of reps, depending on the days, but have, low intensity, high reps, low reps for lesser weights and higher weights, depending on what phases that I'd be in for, putting on meat and strength, and then having to chisel it down. So depending on what parts of training I was in, but I would do a minimum of like 16 weeks or 12 weeks to prep for a show.
Okay.
And that was usually pretty adequate time, but yeah, it was out of an 8-day training cycle or a 9-day training cycle, with 3 on, 1 off, 3 on, and then an off or something like that. But then I would have days or weeks depending, where I would just be 7 straight through. And I would use the lighter days as basically like my recovery days. But now, and for the last few years, especially, like, I've been running a lot more, swimming, obviously, from triathlon and biking, a lot of much more functional based movement, and just exercises that are based on athletic performance and mobility,
which is very
pliability.
important. And I realized this recently. I had a guest on, Millie Natalie. She was talking about yoga, and and she was right. She was saying that most of the men that would go to the gym, they were like mountains, and they're all stiff and just muscle. But your body was used. You couldn't like perform with it. You couldn't like.
Yeah.
Again, as you said, like if you were going to do a triathlon or a marathon or swimming, etc., you can't use your
run
body.
up the fucking stairs.
Yeah, it's just muscle. I think you've got to find a fine line between having an adequate volume of muscle, but also while keeping intact and obviously pushing your limits into the mobility. So in calisthenics, and I found that's beautiful when I see those men when they just do this like one handstand.
Oh, dude,
like,
love it.
Rubber,
Love calisthenics.
It's like the beauty of using your body. It's just amazing what you can do. Exactly. Yep. And yeah, sorry, I'll call you there, but yeah, mobility is super important.
Yeah. And hey, look, to anybody, do what makes you happy. I love watching Hafthor Bjornsson, world's strongest man, deadlift, 500 plus, 510 kilos, or whatever. Like, it's awesome. It's fucking amazing to watch that. I love watching Olympic powerlifting, actually.
Okay.
To see, one of the world record, or one of the greatest lifts ever, or what's considered one of the greatest lifts ever. This is by a Turkish guy. I'm going to butcher his last name, but it starts with an H, I believe. He's something like 60 kilos in the Olympics and did like 150 kilo clean and jerk. Something crazy like that.
He's 60 kilos.
60 kilos or
150 clean jerk.
I think it's 60 kilo, and I want to say it was 150. I'd have to find it, but it's
almost triple his weight.
Yeah, he's like the ant, he's like the human ant.
Yeah,
and it's considered like one of the greatest lifts of all time, right? I'll find it and send it to you.
Yeah,
but
please.
It's just amazing to watch. Like, now, can that guy swim and bike and stuff the way that I do? I don't know. But like, fuck me. Watch that. I'm like, dude, that is amazing. The technique, the poetry of motion, the kinetic energy, the requirements to do that are just, as a scientist, as a purist, as a human, as a lover of like exercise, it's like, that is just perfect. It's amazing to watch that. So I love to watch Olympic lifting. Can they run like I do and do things like I do? No, but I sure as fuck can't do that like that. So I'm in awe much more of that. But yeah, for me, I like being well diversified as an athlete for sure.
Yeah, to each his own.
Yeah.
Let's just finish off this workout chapter with your favorite exercises.
Favorite exercises. I'll tell you the ones I hate. Thrusters. Please. Hate thrusters. had them today. Hate them. But God damn it, we do them because we hate them.
We gotta do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anything with the chest, I love. I'm anything bench press, press ups, dips, anything chest related, I'm pretty good with. Anything inverted, I'm pretty good with. Hands, like on the hands, handstand push ups, stuff like that. A lot of the gymnastics I can do pretty decently. Love a good squat, for sure. Pretty good back squat.
Good, love squat.
Yeah. The Olympic lifts I just think are awesome. The power cleans, snatches, clean and jerks. I love the Olympic lifts. I love to watch Olympic lifts, but yeah, thruster is my probably number one where I'm like, fuck.
There's a lot of athletes that say that the deadlift is considered one of the worst exercises when it comes to building muscle because of the ratio between reward and risk. Like the risk is just too high for the reward. What do you think of that?
I would be curious to hear their reasoning, because if they say they're worried about hurting their backs, well, then they're doing the lift wrong. They're doing the lift wrong because that is a leg exercise. So that very clearly. Yeah. That's a leg exercise. There's back involved. There's rowing. There's pulling. Yes, but it's a lift, but it's much more of a drive from the ground.
Yeah.
Right. Like think about the deadlift is a leg press.
Yeah.
For anybody that doesn't know that, you think about the position you're in, the hinge at the hip, you're down, straight armed, and you're standing up. Now, people try to pull that weight up, and you'll see that typically happen with someone where their hips are above their backs, so you can see the hips come up first, as opposed to the legs firing and then finishing. When you see someone lifting improperly and then the legs come up real quick to where their butt gets the backs of the butt gets over their head, if that makes sense, as opposed to all together.
One clean motion.
Yeah. So for someone saying they're worried about injury, I would say it's because they're probably more back centric with it as opposed to being leg centric. But I think one of the most impressive feats you can have as an athlete is the 500-pound deadlift and the sub 5-minute mile in the same day. And I've known a few guys to do it. So 500, and by few guys to do it, I've seen a couple of guys. One of them's a good friend of mine. Deadlift 500 pounds and then immediately run a mile under 5 minutes on the track.
Wow.
So I think
after that.
He's in track spikes. He does the lift in track spikes, 500 pounds, drops the barbell, and he's got all the stuff at the track, but 500 pounds, drops it, and then takes off and sprints.
Just runs. Wow.
And runs under 5. I think that's one of the very cool, things that separates you want to see what a real super athlete is. Like, that's a great test, 100 alternating dumbbell snatches for time is a great one. With a heavy dumbbell. I love watching people do that, or given, someone says, hey, I'm looking for 100 dumbbell snatches for time, 50 pounds for the man, 35 for the ladies. And they're like, fuck. I'm like, yeah, go for that. That's a great test. You want to check your fitness. But 500-pound deadlift and 5-minute mile, sub 5-minute mile. That's a good one.
We're gonna finish this episode on your entrepreneurial chapter. Can you talk to me about Life Like Jake?
Yeah. So Life Like Jake, obviously my name is Jake. The 3 words rhyme. They're easy to search. They come up well with SEO, and that's kind of really what the namesake came from. Was it rolls off the tongue well? It's easy to say. People remember it. They're like, oh, it's kind of clever and cute. I'm like, perfect. But it's really life like you. You know, it makes sense for me because it's my name, but it's me trying to exude and impress things that I've gone through, places, things that I eat, things that I do, people that I hang out with, things that I subscribe to, things that I read or watch, to be able to say, like, hey, this is what's gotten me feeling better. This is what's helped me feel less shitty. This is what's helped me get over substance. This is what's helped me get over alcohol. This is what's helped me da-da-da. I'm just trying to share it with you. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's the only way.
For you.
It's what's worked for me.
Sharing and trying to inspire people.
Yep. And it's my way of trying to put it in a pill and give it to you.
What are some of the biggest failures you face in entrepreneurship, and what did you learn from them?
When you go full Cortez and you burn the boats, you find out how bad you really want it. Because as long as you have that tether and the lifeline, you're never fully committed, or you never will fully commit, because you'll know, I've always got to fall back. But when you put yourself out there financially, personally, socially, telling people you're doing this, and you fucking hold yourself to that word of like, oh my God, I'm really going to leave my job. I'm really going to leave the salary position that I had at Ralph Lauren to go into real estate. I know nothing about real estate, but I'm really going to walk away from this guaranteed income and package and support system that's there, and profit share and 401k and retirement pension. I'm really going to walk away from that into an industry I've never been in, I know nothing about, and they don't pay, meaning I have to earn it all commissionally or through commission. Holy shit.
It's like a suicide mission.
Yeah, it's a suicide mission in Manhattan, in New York City. I guess we're going to do it. I mean, hey, fuck it. Why not? I had to do that, or I didn't have to do that, but that's what I did. That was my first delve into entrepreneurship, was leaving the ivory tower, the protection of Ralph Lauren, and saying, I'm going to go make it on my own in real estate. I'm going to try. And that was my segue into, man, keep believing in yourself. Keep trying. Don't be afraid of it not working out. That's the only barrier of entry. The only barrier of entry is your own fear that it won't work. Everything else is possibility. Everything else is infinity. Everything else is limitless potential. The only fear is you being worried it won't work out. The only fear is you being afraid of failure. Everything else is upside.
With the same quote every time, because it just applies everywhere. It's this quote by Seneca: you suffer more in imagination than in reality.
Oof, love Seneca. Love the Stoics.
It's just brutal. It's true. Like, you just suffer
fucking
10 times more just trying to imagine how the scenario would go.
Yep.
And you said that when it came to public speaking, and once you've done it,
Yep.
you're like, it wasn't so bad after all, was it?
Yep. and if you say, it kind of goes into the what if. Well, what if you don't? That's what I say.
Yeah.
It's easy to say what if, and I don't know if it's going to work, and like, what if it fucking does work?
Exactly.
What if you don't do it though? What if you don't? There's a great phrase in the schoolhouses of surveillance, evasion, rescue, and escape school, or not surveillance. I can't remember the name. Anyway, SEER school, survival, evasion, rescue, and escape. Eesh, I'm gonna get laughed at for that later. It says 1,000 days of 1,000 days of evasion are better than 1 day of captivity.
Wow.
I'll never surrender. I'll stay on the run. I'll stay hiding under the leaves. I'll stay hiding in the mud. I'll stay hiding in dog shit. I will sniff, fight, claw, do whatever it takes to not get fucking captured. And capture to me is surrendering, is abandoning dreams. It's abandoning belief. It's abandoning what you feel to be your path. I will never do that. And so to me, it doesn't matter how much struggle, how much of the wolf's breath that I constantly feel in my neck, how many sleepless nights, how many early mornings, how many overdrafted bank accounts. I don't give a fuck. Like, I will keep doing it because I will never surrender.
What advice would you give to anyone that wants to start entrepreneurship? I usually end these episodes with these advice questions.
Wanting to start entrepreneurship is like getting a tattoo. You sure as fuck be sure that's what you want, because it'll be with you forever. Whether you continue that path and you succeed, or it becomes part of your life, it becomes your life and you are the entrepreneur, or you do it and you leave and you are stuck with regret forever.
Wow.
So it's like a tattoo.
So make sure that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's tough because how do you know for certainty, especially at a young age, that's what you want to do with your life?
It took me trial and error, man. I thought for, the most part of my life, the better part of my life, I was salary, I was corporate, I was, 9 to 5, all that. And I kept getting resistance, and I didn't know that the resistance was the pursuit of creativity. It was actually the attraction of creativity and freedom, my own personal freedom, and having to believe in myself and create, a reality that I desired through dream. And it took a lot of failure, like I said, going to those places and no, this isn't it. Fuck, that's not it either. Damn it, I thought this was going to be the one. Nope. It's being out there in uncharted waters where the compass doesn't work and you can't call for help and you've already eclipsed the edges of the map. And it's just your own fucking gut instinct and belief in knowing that I'm pretty sure that's the way. I know where I came from is not where I want to be, but I'm pretty sure this is the way. That's what it's like.
Damn, you're giving me bangers after banger after banger. I'm like overwhelmed by your...
I'm a big fan of Hunter S. Thompson. I talk a lot in metaphors, man. Sorry.
No, it's great. Honestly, I love it. I love it. To finish off, Jake, looking ahead, what are your inspirations for the future of LifeLikeJake? And how do you envision continuing to make an impact in the lives of others?
Being more interested than being interesting. That's the key. To be more interested. It's better to be interested than to be interesting. Just shut the fuck up. Just listen, observe, and admire.
Do you catch
that's
yourself
something.
Be like that?
I wish I could have told myself that a long time ago. It took me a long time to realize that, but like that's a key to life right there is being able to observe, admire, and appreciate, listen, have empathy, and just be able to gaze and like I said, look at things with wonder and awe. And that's really the key. That's been a key to my growth. It's been a key to my business. It is a key to moving forward. It's going to be to listen more, to do less, to allow the world to be, and just to be, aware of it, admiring of it, appreciative of it. One of the greatest gifts you can give anyone is the freedom for them to feel comfortable about being themselves around you. It's easy for me to get on a soapbox and just blah, 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 blah. Like, what's that going to do? I want to listen. I need to get into your heart and soul. I need to, be able to feel your backbone with your words, and for you to be able to express that kind of vulnerability. That's what it takes for people to change, for people to be who they want to be, to shed these exoskeletons of fear and depression, self-loathing, pessimism. Like, it's not going to be from some guy spitting venom and that loves to hear. It's going to be allowing this little hermit crab, finally the space to come out and say, oh my God, it's safe. Like, I can finally do this. Otherwise it's right back in the shell. But amazing. That's, working on me is the secret to being able to listen to others and to better serve them. By making sure my mask is on first, then I can offer assistance.
Yeah, do you know the entrepreneur Iman Gaji? I guess you maybe heard of him. He's like one of the top in the early 20s entrepreneurs in the world.
Say his name again.
Iman Gaji.
Okay, no, I'm thinking somebody else.
I'll send you. I'm sure you've seen him. Anyway, he said that he's got this quote. He said, "People don't realize how selfish I was to be as selfless I am now." So you would agree with that?
Yeah. How do you? That's it, man. Nail on the head for sure. Put your mask on first.
Where can you find you on social media, Jake?
At LifeLikeJake, everything.
Everything, everywhere.
Yeah, everything is LifeLikeJake.
You managed to get the username.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and people ask, you know, when you're asking about the title, it's like, hey, man, it applies pretty everywhere. My username, everywhere, all my discount codes, you know, any of the affiliate links, all the social media, everything's LifeLikeJake.
Yeah, it'd be a pain if it was like, it's LifeLikeJake and there's Jake blah 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 on this and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So you managed to grab all the usernames.
I'm trying.
Jake, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Same, Jared.
A ton. Thank you for your time, and yeah, man, just stay safe and take care.
Right on. Likewise, brother.
I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, guys. I recently launched the Adonis Network, which is my weekly newsletter, so weekly insights from me every Tuesday. And you get, when subscribing to it, a 10-hour early access to all my future YouTube episodes. I mean, that's one hell of a bargain, don't you think? Right? The link is right down below. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, guys, and see you next week. It's not a picture. Click here. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.